Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Applebaum, the Leadership Fellow and Curator of American Art here at the Toledo Museum, and I am here today to share with you a work of art that is new to our collection. It is by the contemporary fiber artist Bisa Butler. It's called The Storm, the Whirlwind, and the Earthquake, and it is a portrait of Frederick Douglass, which was completed this past January 2020. Now, Frederick Douglass, of course, was the well-known orator, writer, and statesman who became a leader of the abolitionist movement to end slavery in this country in the mid to late 19th century. And the struggles that he fought for throughout his life over racial equality are still ongoing in our society and our institutions today. This work may look like a painting at first glance, but you should note that it is actually a quilt. It is made entirely of different colors and textures of fabric that have been masterfully layered to create this larger-than-life portrait. This quilt will be featured in the upcoming TMA exhibition, Radical Tradition, American Quilts and Social Change, which opens this November 2020. But before then, it will be out on view later this summer alongside other works from the permanent collection, which have been selected by the artist. The quilt has a very powerful and relevant connection to the 4th of July holiday, and I am thrilled to have the artist herself tell you more about it. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the brilliant Bisa Butler.
I came across a portrait of Frederick Douglass when I was researching new ideas, new images for a new collection. And that's how I usually start. It's just a query, looking up vintage images of African American people because that's what's interesting to me. My original research topic was African American man. And I came across a photo of Frederick Douglass. But this was Frederick Douglass as I had never seen him before. He was looking to be about 28 to early 30s, maybe 31 years old, 32 years old. He didn't have his characteristic gray afro. I mean, he still had the afro, but what I saw was waves in his hair, and it was carefully coiffed. I also saw that Frederick Douglass had on this cravat, and it was this intricately tied silk cravat, and it had like a plaid damask fabric. He had on a brocade vest, like a fitted silk vest, a high starch collar, I should add. He had a little goatee beard, and he had these heavy-lidded eyes that were looking out at me with this furrowed brow that really made me stop and pay attention. It made me start thinking about who is this man really? Because I clearly had the wrong idea about Frederick Douglass. I never knew that he was a dandy. And it's silly, but I never imagined him young before. I never imagined that he was somebody who was concerned with like looking dapper per se. I just thought of him as like this intellectual guy, the statesman, and it started making me think about Frederick Douglass, the man himself. I realized that his photo was demanding that I stop and take a second look. And what gives a 30-year-old man the steely gaze of somebody who has seen things? Somebody who has seen things that I just can't even imagine. And maybe none of us can imagine in this lifetime. I also started reading his old speeches, and I came across one that was given on July 5th, 1852. So that's approximately 162 years ago. And it was given on the occasion of the 4th of July, which had been the day before. They called it Independence Day. In 1852, I mean, slavery was still well in full effect. He was still a fugitive of the law. The Fugitive Slave Act had recently been passed, so that meant that any black person in the North, if a white person stopped them and asked to see their papers, as in your free papers, if they couldn't produce them, then that white person could have that black person sent back to the South. I'm going to read an excerpt from the speech that I found. And the name of the speech is What to the Negro is the 4th of July? For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and its crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced. These are Frederick Douglass' words, stated 168 years ago, and he was speaking about the humanity of the nation coming into question. Reading his words, doing my research about what, if I can even grasp what life was like for him at that time, it made me even more committed to finishing this new piece of artwork. I hope that you appreciate it, and it meant a lot to me to be able to have the honor to create a portrait of such a human being, such as Frederick Douglass.